What's going on, everyone? Juice Bags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2. We are back, y'all, in the Chaos 10 Coral Reef Town for another round of fun in this underwater hotness. Now, one of the things in the update that just hit is there was some heavy-duty changes to the Ballista. Part one of that change would be there's kind of like an anti-clipping feature now. So like if this ballista was to shoot at an enemy, say right here, and that enemy was to walk behind this post, before the ballista would just get stuck in that column right there. Now the ballista has like an anti-clipping feature where it still requires line of sight, but if it has line of sight and fires at an enemy, that bolt will reach that enemy. So it's going to go through any terrain and not get blocked by anything other than the spawn protection. You will see ballista bolts getting stuck in the spawn protection periodically now, but, you know, obviously, enemies aren't meant to be hit inside of there. Now, in addition to that, the hotfix that came shortly after changed the empowered bolts. Enemies hit by the ballista receive an additional 26% damage from all sources for 8 seconds. This is enormous, and it stacks with Ignite. So if you have oil and you're using the Burning Bolts mod, you're going to be able to get a 51% increase in damage from all your other defenses to enemies in that lane. And that makes the Ballista arguably one of the best support defenses in the game. You're just going to want to use this. However, today we are not here to talk about support. We are here to talk about using Ballista as a main source of damage. So let's go ahead and get some things changed up and hop right on into it. So we're going to be using Piercer Servo, Defense Rate, and Anti-Melee. I like to use Diffusion Buff Beams and a Range Pylon on all my setups, which means I don't have to worry about the range. If you're not using those items, or you prefer not to use those items, you're probably going to be better off throwing a Defense Range Servo on instead of Anti-Melee. For me, I'm getting my range elsewhere, so I'm going full on all about the damage. Now, we all know every defense in the game, if you've got them available, Mass Destruction, the double stack is just huge. Well, the decision is always what is the third shard. We're going to go through 3 different possible loadouts here today. We're going to start off with Power Transfer, as this is a popular combination amongst many people, and without knowing the full picture, if you look at the basic math of things, you're going to think Power Transfer is the best shard to use. Now, it's a good shard. It's a shard that's very usable. However, it is not going to give you the most possible damage. But let's go ahead and set up with Power Transfer and see how it runs for a couple of waves. Now, this first ballista, we're going to angle over this way. That way it hits that flyer lane as well. And then we're just going to throw 2 more ballistas just right here. We're going to buff them up with all the hotness. We're going to give them a boost aura. We're going to give them all of the pylons, destruction, and range. And then we're going to give them a diffusion buff beam as well. Now, when we get all this stuff down and we take a look at it, your main 2 choices for that third shard slot are going to be either Power Transfer, like in this situation, or a better option is going to be Power Bolts. Now, when you first look at this, you know, there's a lot of doing math in Dungeon Defenders 2, no doubt. So if you do the math here, and you say, okay, Power Transfer gives me a increased 38% crit chance. In this setup, we are critting for, 132% damage. So 38% of 100 and, what did I say, 132? 38% of 132 is going to be better than 40% of 72. However, it doesn't quite work out that way. And let's go ahead and build out the rest of the lanes, and we'll go through why after we see how Power Transfer performs. Now, this lane right here just screams Ballista. It's almost like they should put up a road sign and say, Ballistas here, please, because it's just an absolutely incredible ballista lane. We're going to go with 3 ballistas again. These ballistas are going to double dip and hit that flyer lane also. So we've got some flyer protection here with the ballistas, and then we've got that one backup ballista down there for kind of last resort flyer protection. We're going to give it all the same bells and whistles. So we got a Boostara, we got all the pylons, and we got a diffused buff beam. And then we're going to come right down to this lane. Now here we got air mobs that fly right out over the river here. With that in mind, I'm going to go with our training dummy on this side of the water. So hopefully if the flying mobs are going to aggro to anything, it's going to be that training dummy and not our ballistas. Which I'm going to put the ballistas right here on this rail. So we'll go 3 of them, something like this. Let's point them the right way, though. That's probably not going to work out for that one. And then we'll do the same thing here. Now, this lane is definitely the weakest lane because of that turn in the lane. The ballistas don't have a really high-quality line of sight in this lane. So this lane, we're just going to set it all up and kind of ignore it and just let it run as long as we can. And it is able to hold. So we look at this, we got 20 DU left, which works out about perfect, because we all know in the late waves, hex throwers come out, or if you're in Chaos 6, hex throwers are going to be abundant. And hex throwers have got a real bad habit of saying, well, why would I run around there? I can shoot at that shit from right here. And they like to just throw at cores from across the world. So with that in mind, let's just throw down a reflect beam right there for a little protection versus that. And let's just let it fly. I'm going to throw an upgrade on each of these training dummies just to make sure they are good and thick. And these first couple of waves are just going to be all about getting some mana and getting some upgrades in. We'll start doing more of a comparison here in just a moment. After we get, pretty much I want to get everything in this lane and everything down here upgraded, maybe 2 or 3 times. And I want them all evenly upgraded. That way we get a fair comparison with all of these different shard setups. We're going to do 3 different shard setups here, and all 3 very, very potential candidates. Now, as far as single target damage, as I mentioned, Power Bolts is going to be the one you want to add in to Mass Destruction and Destruction. Situationally and arguably, Power Bolts is actually even going to be better than a regular Destruction Shard. It's just very, very good, as it's got a lot of hidden value to it that is not real apparent to everyone. And we'll go through that. I keep saying it, but hang in there, y'all. We'll get to Power Bolts. Let's give Power Transfer an opportunity to shine right now. Now, as you see, everything's just getting one-tapped. We're critting a lot. We got a big crit chance. We've got nice crit damage using a buff beam and a Boostara. So, yeah, I mean, the crits are flying off. Everything's getting slapped. Power Transfer is more than capable of getting the job done here in this situation. The only thing that should make it to a wall, I think, is the Chieftain. Let's see here. Frost Orcs are here. Nope, they're dead. Goblins are still throwing. No, they're dying off as well. And now it's all dead. So, yeah, our training dummy barely took any damage. So, Power Transfer for sure. Like I said, let's give it another wave, though. Let's get some nice even upgrades in. Let's go with... we'll go 2 upgrades on every ballista here. And let's go 2 upgrades on every ballista here as well. Let's see. And then we'll just dump everything else down here. Pretty much the rest of the mana we get, I think we'll just dump it down here. So let's go ahead and let it fly. We'll give Power Transfer the good look with a couple of upgrades in now. Obviously not fully jacked, but upgraded nonetheless. And we won't upgrade these ballistas or these ballistas anymore. That way we get that fair comparison between the 3 different setups. But let's check out Wave 2 here. See how it's going to run with the Power Transfer as the 3rd shard option. Once again, everything just getting slapped. The Chieftain are having to pop their buff really early. That Chieftain there was actually nowhere near the wall yet. And his buff had expired and died. Now, over here, I think line of sight and the shorter lanes will probably get some Chieftain over to this area. But most of the mobs should just get hammered. You see most of the smaller mobs are one-taps. We got a Cyclone Shaper rolling out now. Let's see how the Cyclone Shaper fares here with Power Transfer. I mean, it's going to be crits. You know, we're going to be getting lots of crits for big damage. Power Transfer is going to really be able to shine. You see that Cyclone Shaper only took 1 shot from him, but it's just chonking. Big damage, big damage. So the Ballista with Power Transfer is just capable of rolling the roost. Apparently, Sharkin don't like slapping hunters, though. Or do they like it? They might actually enjoy it. Let's see how we're going over here. Still going pretty smooth. We got the Frost Orcs are making it close enough to make our training dummy a little chilly, but that's about it. It's not like the frostbite's setting in or anything. It's just got a mild cold. All right, so there we go. There is a power transfer run with 3 upgrades, or 2 upgrades on all of those towers. As I mentioned, we won't upgrade these anymore. We'll just dump everything down here. So hopefully we don't have to worry about this lane at all, and we can just kind of ignore it. All right, so let's move on. So why on earth, after all this jibber-jabbering, would you say that 38% of 132 is not as good as 40% of 72? Well, there's a few different reasons. First off, Power Bolts is an individual or a separate instance of damage, meaning it also has its own crit chance and its own crit damage. So if we take a look now, we've only got a 44.5% chance to crit. We're still at that 132% crit damage. But the thing that you don't figure into that equation when you just look at 40% chance to do 70% increased damage is that increased damage hit, or that extra damage hit, is additional, has its own chance to crit and will crit, inflating that number quite a bit. Now, just based off of that alone, Power Bolts ends up passing the power transfer as far as damage output goes. However, there's one more thing, and that is, it's not a 40% chance, y'all. It is more than that. I haven't tested it for like 1,000 shots, which I'm willing to do if you all want to see that sort of thing. But this procs way more than 40% of the time. If you just plug it into your dummy and let it fire at your target dummy in your tavern, you're going to see that this goes like as high as like 80% over like 100 shots, and as low as like 60% over 100 shots. It's just proccing constantly. One thing it is definitely not is it's not 40%. There's no doubt about it. So don't know if there's something a little bit going on, a little different behind the scenes on this, but Power Bolts does proc quite heavily. Since we don't have any proven math or numbers on it, it's hard to say exactly where you should value this one, but it is very high and arguably even higher than Destruction. So Power Bolts, yeah, it's good stuff. Let's give Power Bolts a run here and see if we notice a difference. Now, we probably won't notice a huge difference in Chaos 10, as we were just, it was adequate. It was capable of clearing the lanes without any issues. So I can't see that we're going to notice a massive difference. Same thing. Enemies are getting slapped. Actually, we can look over there. Over here, the Frost Orcs were pushing pretty close to the wall, close enough to make it cold. So let's take a peek at it over here, because we've got some Frosties coming out now. Got a bunch of Chieftain rolling in. Chieftain down. Oh, and the Orcs just got slapped. So, yeah, it didn't make it anywhere near as much. So, although it appears that power transfer would be better than Power Bolts, Power Bolts is just really good. It's just wrecking it. It gets the job done, no doubt. See the time to kill on this Ogre. Of course, we're not getting direct shots on it since it's taking the long loop. Here we go. Now it's pounded into him. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's just big. And the boss up here, we didn't even get a chance to look at, and it just got mashed. Absolutely mashed. So, if you're going to use your Ballista as main defense, this has always been kind of the standardized suggested build: Mass Destruction, Destruction, and Power Bolts. That has not changed. It is, without a doubt, still the same old, and you're going to want to get Power Bolts in there. Power Transfer, it can draw you in, as that crit chance is so nice. And, you know, on some defenses, you know, you don't have a Power Bolt, so Power Transfer is just going to be huge for you. The Ballista, however, has got its own little bit of hotness here. Hopefully we get a Siege Roller here, because next up, we are going to look at the shard that cannot be tested with your calculator. And that, of course, is going to be... Where are you, Explody? Explody harpoon. It's one of my favorites. Who doesn't like explosions? 52% chance to detonate on hit, dealing 49% of defense damage, as extra damage in a small area. Once again, it's an extra instance of damage. It has its own chance to crit, so it can crit as well, but additionally, the amount of damage you get is going to be 100% dependent on how many mobs there are, because if the ballista hits one mob, it's one explosion. If it hit, or one chance at an explosion. If it hits two mobs, it's two chances at an explosion. If it hits three mobs, it's three chances of an explosion. All three of those explosions are independent instances of damage, and situationally, if you had a big old massive horde of baddies lined up in a single file line right down the middle here, where every ballista could hit every enemy, then Explody would completely dominate all other shards in the game. It would be better than mass destruction. I mean, it's just, it would be that good. Let's let it run with Explody here for a bit. Another big benefit we get with Explody is your siege rollers are now automated. So hopefully we get a siege roller lane in on this one, as the explosion radius is not large, but it's big enough to hit that booty when a siege roller comes rolling out. So we'll have to wait and see what we get here. Of course, since I desperately want a siege roller, you know a siege roller will not arrive. But let's check it out. Let's see the bosses we get. Let's see how it clears. It's a little bit more AoE clear, less overall single target damage, unless there's a ton of mobs and the explosions are just overlapping. But as you see, you know, it's just good. It's just shredding. Let's take a look at our bosses here. We got a Cyclone Shaper about to roll out over here. The Cyclone Shaper is going to have to go down and make the turn, of course. So we'll give it a moment and see how it goes. Going to get wrecked. Just a matter of how fast. Let's see. About to come into range now. Almost. There we go. Yeah, and the Cyclone Shaper just burned. Absolutely burned. We should get another boss this wave. Hopefully, I didn't look to see what they were, but hopefully we get a little siege roller action. We got one more wave to go. We can leave Explody in there for the last wave and check it out. No, we got Tuskar and we got a Slakelion. So both of these are just going to get just shalamied. No doubt about it. Here comes Tuskar now. Oh, you sweet, sweet Tuskar. See if I can get him targeted. Oh, he's dead already. Couldn't get it switched over to his targeting bar. Slakelion, of course, is going to take the slow loop with only one. Actually, they're all hitting it. Yeah. Just absolutely devastating. So we'll get another Slakelion proc at the beginning of this one. Let's see what we got for bossery now. We got a captain. We got Malthius. Oh, no siege roller. Doesn't it figure? Oh, we got a siege roller. Okay, there's a siege roller over here. So even though this is not the lane we wanted to focus on, we will check out the siege roller automation right over here on this lane as soon as it comes around and makes the turn. Now, it's going to have to probably get to about here. Going to have to come way out here, so we'll have to wait it out here a little bit. Explody is arguably where it's at, though, y'all. I mean, for fun factor, it's got explosions, you know? So, I mean, how do you not love some explosions? But it's just so situational. Like, here we got a big pack of enemies. That pack of enemies are going to just blow up. There's just no doubt. Because the explosions are going to be going crazy as it goes through them. Yeah, it took out most of the pack with that one explosion there. We got our siege roller coming, but he's going to take about 7 years to make it out of there. So we'll keep an eye on this captain here. First things first. Captain getting just slapped. And then we got our lovely siege roller. Still has not made the peak. I see you back in there. They have such a long way to go to get out of the lanes on this map. Everything just getting blasted. Getting absolutely blasted. Come on out, Mr. Siege Roller. You can do it. Let me burn these flyers out real quick so the poons aren't getting distracted. Actually, we might be able to check out those other mobs. Maltheus is going to go real slow and stay in the back, of course. All right, the siege roller's taking damage now. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Explody poons for the win. So they just eat those siege roller booties right up. What all we got left now is Maltheus. We missed one of the bosses. Maltheus, of course, is back in there taking a sweet old time. Come on out, dude. You know you want to. Yeah, come on. And then there we go. Maltheus just blown up as well. So good stuff. 3 different flavors of ballistas. Any of these 3 builds are quite viable. Yeah, I know you guys wanted to see oil and fire. Yeah, I know. I can see Dan in the comments already. I'd like to use oil and fire on my... Yeah, I know. That's all great stuff. But that is a support defense. As a main defense, you're going to want to go full power. And my personal suggestion would probably be just to stick with the generally suggested setup. And that, of course, is mass destruction, and power bolts. However, you can use power transfer. You can have a little bit of fun with Explody. So that's always an option as well. And set them up how you like to set them up. Let me know down in the comments below how you like to use your ballistas. But this is how I like to use mine. So thanks a ton for watching, and I will see ya next time around. Take it easy.